What's going on, everybody? Thanks for stopping in to watch another episode of what we got today, which is legs. So starting out, we actually started out with some Bulgarian split squats, a couple warm-up sets, and then just working at 2 sets of 8, going to failure. So on these, we really want to focus in on sitting that back leg back towards that bench and really driving through the heel on that front leg, concentrating on really keeping the tension on that muscle the entire time in that front leg, and big squeeze at the top as we come down. So on these, we did a couple warm-up sets. Top set, I believe, was a 110-pound dumbbell on each side. And we did 2 sets of 8 reps with a 110-pound dumbbell. Prior to this exercise, we actually had done banded leg presses, which were horrendous. Those we actually ended up doing where we had 2 gray bands on the actual leg press, and we went 1 plate at a time, doing a rep scheme where we had 16 reps. 8 reps of that was actually going to be a 5-second eccentric motion with a quick concentric motion, and then 8 reps of that was piston style. So we did that for sets all the way up until you couldn't get 1 plate. Absolutely excruciating. And then we did these. So then we moved on to the pro squat after the Bulgarian split squats. And here we're just working up until we can't get 6 reps. The fun part about this is, and you'll see it later on here, is actually we worked up to 6 reps, and then we did an entire drop set where you drop the 1 plate at a time, going all the way back down to the 2 plates on each side, which, again, after doing the banded leg presses and the Bulgarian split squats, my quads were already pretty blown up at this point in time, which really, isn't something I necessarily need to work on more, but, why not? So I was really focusing in on keeping feet about shoulder width apart, and then also making sure my depth was there. Really trying to get low. Probably one of my weak points as far as conditioning wise is my glutes and my hamstrings. So I really want to get low enough that I was actually activating glutes and hamstrings, and then also still getting on those quads as we're doing these as well. And as you see, we kind of worked up, got to a point where we got up to about 7 plates on each side, and that's when the actual drop set starts, and that's going to be coming up here in a couple seconds. It was, let me tell you, horrendous. The weight actually doesn't look like it's too heavy for me. I do fail a couple times, like actually fail, but the thing with that was most taxing for me was honestly my lungs. It's just a lot of volume, a lot of reps after already kind of putting your body through hell to start out. So this is going to be the drop set as we go down here. Again, biggest thing that I'm trying to focus in on, and I will say, move a little bit too fast with this movement as far as the downward motion. Should have been a little better control on my end. Putting a lot of stress on those knees at the bottom of this motion and trying to actually use a little bit more of a bounce off the bottom than I would like to see. But I will say, we're now on, today's Thursday. This was actually done last Saturday, and my quads are actually still sore from then. So, honestly, the amount of destruction that happened in this workout was insane. And we'll see kind of how my body responds to it this week as we are going to be taking that weight up. I'll make sure to go ahead and record those banded leg presses this week so you guys can actually see what those look like. Like I said, starting this entire workout with that was pretty excruciating, pretty nasty as far as pain goes. And then it just was more of a mental fortitude aspect on this drop set, trying to just push as many reps as you could each drop and just pushing your body to the extreme limit. Again, keeping your chest up, keeping your core tight, getting that depth, and really trying to just make sure that I was activating and pushing my body as far as I possibly could. And like I said, as you saw me fail a couple times. So finish out watching the rest of this set. At the end of it, I actually challenged myself a little bit. I really slowed the weight down with the 2 plates and really focused on that negative rep. Most of the time when I'm getting tired, that's kind of the biggest thing I want to do, is really just try to tax that muscle all the way out. And so as you'll see here on these last couple of reps, I'll actually go ahead and slow the weight down and really just try to tax the muscle, because it is a light weight at this point in time. My legs are pretty taxed. My lungs are the worst thing as far as being taxed, but really just kind of slow that weight down and trying to just fight it as much as possible and getting full range of motion to really just try to break down the muscle tissue as much as possible on these last couple reps leading out of this massive drop set. once we get done with this aspect, we're going to move on. Typically, I move on to a lot of stretching motions just to help out, because at this point in time, everything's tanked. So we really want to try to stretch that muscle after pumping a whole bunch of blood into it, which again is very, very excruciating as far as pain-wise. But as far as growth-wise, it's essential to kind of just make sure that we stretch. Now that we finished with that fun, we move on to lying leg curls. This one's actually going to have a 1 second squeeze and a 3 second descent on each rep. We actually ended up doing 3 rounds of this for 12 reps. This was actually pretty nice. Good squeeze and also a very good stretch on those hamstrings after doing a lot of work. I will say my pump from my hamstrings on this was insane. And then moving on to the next movement after we get done with this really kind of helped elongate them and kind of stretch them out, which was nice, because at this point in time my legs were pretty much hammered. I was walking like a baby deer. So the stretch on the hamstring was really nice, and you'll see that movement here coming up shortly as far as what we did. So here we are, moved on to hyperextensions. On these, I do them a little bit differently. I keep my sternum down, focusing on driving my hips into the bench and really pulling with only my glutes and my hamstrings and not my lower back. So I try not to even arch my lower back as much as possible. Really just try to squeeze through those glutes and hamstrings on each and every single one of these reps. We finished out with some seated leg curls, which I did not record, but again, another movement, just nice, good stretch. And that was the monster, nasty leg day that we ended up having this last weekend.